Pin-up and porn queen Jigsaw. This may sound like a bit of a mess to you. It may look like a bit of a mess to you. The studio it was created in may look... Okay, maybe that is a bit of a mess. But in this video, I'm going to explain to you why the painting itself is not a mess, but in fact beautiful. Okay, maybe that's also a mess, but it's a beautiful mess. First things first, let's put this mess into context by taking a quick look at the artist herself, Rose Wylie. This wonderful woman was born in 1934 and is still alive and kicking at the ripe old age of 85. She studied at the Dover School of Art from 1952 to 1956 and graduated from the Royal College of Art with an MA in 1981. She completed this particular painting in 2005, so at the time she was 70 years old. You may be inclined to think that this would make it one of her later works, but in fact her career didn't really start taking off until the last decade. She won the John Moores Painting Prize in 2014 and was elected a member of the Royal Academy of Arts in 2015, and currently has a solo exhibition at the Aspen Art Museum. But this is all the boring stuff. As Rose quite rightly says, she wants to be known for her paintings, not because she's old. Rose is known for producing extremely large paintings on unprimed and unstretched canvas in her signature, simplistic, spontaneous style. She is also known for drawing a lot of her art subjects from popular culture. So whilst we are going to be making films based on paintings, Rose often makes paintings based on films. As her work may suggest, she does not find much value in outward appearance. When her children's friends asked why she always dressed in the same clothes, Wylie's response was, "As a radical non-consumer, I prefer dealing with what I have." And when asked about her overgrown garden, she replied,
"So the grass hasn't been cut this year, and when it gets a bit longer in the summer, I tread on it."
And this is where pin-up and porn queen Jigsaw comes in. This is one of her pieces where she expresses her dismissal of superficiality, materialism, and society's obsession with self-image. Or at least that's how I interpret it. Rose barely gives us anything when it comes to explaining the subtext of her work. In fact, she does exactly what we're not supposed to do in this assignment and lists things she likes.
I do like big work. I like billboards. I like very early decorated churches. I like legs sticking out of skirts. I've always liked sculpture, which isn't quite sculpture. I like to paint a form which is not the norm.
With that, I'd like to make a quick disclaimer that everything I say in this presentation is entirely my own interpretation, and it could well be me spouting a whole load of hogwash. So without further ado, let's get stuck into the art. In order to understand the message behind the picture, I needed to figure out who these two figures were. Any ideas? Didn't think so. Thanks to Google, I now know that this is Wylie's depiction of Marilyn Monroe from the 1961 film Misfits, and this is her memory of the pornographic actress Annabelle Chong from the 1999 documentary Sex, the Annabelle Chong Story. This leads me to believe that the top half of the painting serves as a timeline, from left to right, of sex symbols throughout Rose Wylie's life. In her early life, Marilyn Monroe was the biggest of many pin-up girls, which were models whose mass-produced pictures saw widespread appeal as part of popular culture. By 2005, this phenomenon was pretty much dead, and one of the many things that took its place was porn stars. I'm sure you all know what those are. This explains Wylie's choice of Annabelle Chong for the second character of the painting. The panel of darkness to the left of Marilyn Monroe could perhaps be the period of Rose's childhood in which she was not exposed to these sex symbols. So now we know who Wylie is portraying in this photo, let's have a look at how she portrays them. There are two main ways in which she visually expresses her thoughts. Firstly, through the jigsaw theme, which is seen throughout the picture, and secondly, in the way the figures are painted. The jigsaw theme is instantly noticeable as it's in the title, and the dotted lines and numbered segments are in Rose's signature bold style. This makes it clear that we are not looking at Rose's perception of the people themselves, but of the images we see of them. Because a jigsaw of, say, an Eddie Stobart lorry is not actually an Eddie Stobart lorry. It's a picture of an Eddie Stobart lorry. And this is exactly how we see these people. We don't know Marilyn Monroe and Annabelle Chong personally. We see images and videos of them in the media. So this painting is not an attack on the people themselves, but on the way their occupations have them portrayed. This can also be seen in the title. They are referred to as pin-up and porn queen. This is what they do, not who they are. But why did Rose specifically choose jigsaws? I believe this is partly because jigsaws have to be well put together, just like these women. They have to have their makeup done. They have to be well groomed. They have to have their outfit assembled. These are the jigsaw pieces, and they all come together to become an artificial creation. They aren't natural people anymore. We can't see their flaws, and consequently, the general public will deem them to be superior beings and aspire to look like them. The panel of darkness to the left of Marilyn Monroe could also be the lack of substance and meaning behind the superficial, two-dimensional image of the jigsaw. But the jigsaw theme is also what links the top and bottom halves of the picture. This painting is a quadtic, meaning that it has 4 separate parts on 4 separate canvases brought together to produce one piece. So far, we have only looked at the top 2 canvases, so let's have a closer look at the bottom 2. If you look carefully, you'll see the jigsaw pieces in the top half correspond to those in the bottom half. Section 1 is a small rectangle in the top left corner of the painting. Section 2 is a longer rectangle to the right of section 1, and so on. This is because they are the same picture. How about that for a twist? As I've already mentioned, the top half is Marilyn Monroe and Annabelle Chong as they are presented by the media. We can see differences between the 2 figures, which I shall come back to in a minute. But the bottom half is Wylie saying that these 2 different icons from 2 different time periods are both part of the same problem. And essentially, their legacies boil down to the same thing: nothing. Superficially and materialistically, they may have achieved a lot. They may have both been lovely people, but their careers and public image have contributed to the issues of the objectification of women and society's obsession with self-image. All we can see in the bottom half of the painting is 2 framed piles of the same brown substance. This evokes images of mud or sewage, forms of waste. I think Rose is saying that these women's livelihoods have been a waste. Finally, I would like to explain how I think Rose also shares her views in the drawing of the subjects themselves. The most noticeable things about her representation of Marilyn Monroe are the regular lines and red blemishes across her body. At first, I thought these were body hair and birthmarks, showing that Monroe was in fact a real person behind the facade. Perhaps a reference to when her body was found, and it was said to be unrecognisable as she had body hair which the public was so used to her not having. But after some thought, I realised that as the lines on her body were so regular, they could be measurements. Measurements are another superficial way to judge someone. Height, breast size, waistline. This could be Rose's way of showing how models like Marilyn Monroe make girls feel self-conscious about their figures. With Annabelle Chong, the standout feature is the colour of her skin. I'm going to give Wylie the benefit of the doubt and say that this is not an insensitive racial signposting, as it well could be considering Chong is of Singaporean descent. If it is, then I hereby withdraw my liking of this painting. I instead construe it as a statement on the overuse of makeup in contemporary society. Notice how her face is a completely different colour to her neck, which is often the case with people who use fake tan or the wrong foundation colour. This is also seen in the excessive use of bright red lipstick and eye decoration. And that brings us to the end of the video. Whilst I have nothing against the 2 individuals in the picture, I think Rose makes an incredibly valid point, which is only becoming more valid with time. Our society's objectification and unrealistic expectations of women is a topic I feel ever so strongly about, and I would absolutely love to make a film on it. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed my presentation, and I'd be interested to know what Rose Wylie herself thinks of it.
That's wonderful enough.
I'll take that as a compliment.